My ex-husband cheated on me with my sister. It's been 6 years, and I just got an email from him. I, 33F, met my ex-husband Dan, 40, if nearly 15 years ago at a restaurant while celebrating my 18th birthday. He was very kind, charming, and mature. He made me feel appreciated and unique. To provide backdrop, I grew raised in a troubled family. My mother and father would always quarrel. My father would sometimes go off and not return for months. He died when my sister, Abby 25F, was born. My mother was far more fond of Abby than I was from the day she was born. My mother basically babied Abby. She never neglected me, she always tried her best as a mother and provided for me, but I always felt like something was missing. I didn't feel like there was anything missing in my life after Dan came into it. He was supportive and caring. He would often give me things and take me for long trips. I felt entire when I was with him. We got married after 4 years of dating. I intended to start a kid straight away, but Dan encouraged me to get my master's degree and helped me advance my profession. He wanted us to be financially stable before we considered having children. Seriously, he was the best guy I could have asked for. After 5 years of happy marriage, I found out that my husband was cheating on me with Abby. I discovered the affair when my spouse manufactured an excuse to leave town for a week. But he stayed in town and reserved a hotel room, where he and Abby might have sex. This has been going on for the past 6 months behind my back. I was truly devastated. Abby and I were close growing up. I loved and cared for her. How could she have done this to me? Dan and I got into an argument following D-Day. I wondered how he could do this to me. That too with my sister, who has recently turned 19. He said he no longer loved me, that I do not give him enough attention. I'm not the same girl he fell in love with. In the midst of this mess, I realized I was pregnant. However, owing to stress, I lost the baby. When I lost our child, he didn't even come to visit me at the hospital. He was on a weekend getaway with my sister. I should have noticed the indications. Abby was always touchy with Dan. Dan would occasionally stare at her. But that is still quite troubling to me. My mother, as usual, supported Abby and advised me to accept the situation. I wanted to kill myself because I didn't have anyone left. I lost my child, my spouse, and my entire family. Then there's Tina, my best friend and savior. They came to my rescue. She was moving to another state and wanted me to accompany her. I said yes. I was already divorced at the time, and we lived in a little town, so I'd inevitably run across my ex and sister. It took me a time to adjust to my new life in a different state, but I met some nice individuals there. It assisted me in overcoming some traumatic experiences. I still have trust difficulties. I met my now husband, Tony, 32, after a year of living in the new town. I was hesitant and had my guard up, but he demonstrated that he is trustworthy, loves me a lot. I was so happy with him that I almost forgot about my life back home. His parents were quite warm and generous individuals. We got married 1 year ago. I am currently expecting with our first child. Yesterday I received an email from my ex Dan. It just brought back all of the awful memories. I'm just paraphrasing his email. He said he misses me. He tried but couldn't find me. He is quite unhappy with my sister. She is stupid and does not care about him as much as I do. I used to bake him a cake and celebrate his birthdays. But Abby merely texted him happy birthday and didn't bother buying him a cake. Furthermore, she is really rude. She does not respect him. She's always in the bar with her friends. He also said that she had cheated on him 5 times before. His last affair was with a cousin. Our mother also does not stop her. He is about to file for divorce. But he has been missing me a lot lately. He wants us to try again as a couple. He wants us to reunite as a family, like we once were. Because I do not use social media save for Instagram, which is private, he is unlikely to be aware that I am married and have a baby on the way. I'm not sure whether I should feel sorry for him, or just laugh because the grass on his side is really brown, rather than green. Update, I just wanted to thank everyone who messaged me and expressed their support. I decided to send him an email and be done with it. It goes like this: Dan, I'm sorry to hear you're hurting, but there's no way I'd be with you. Yes, I used to be the girl who would have taken you in a heartbeat. But that girl is no longer with us. That girl died the day I miscarried, while you were away shacking up with my sister. I called, but you didn't answer. I am married to a great man who adores and cherishes me. I'm also expecting with our first child. I'm starting a new chapter in my life with someone I love and care about. Please do not contact me ever again. You've made your choice. You prioritized my barely legal sister over me. I don't care whether she cheats on you or disrespects you. Someone like you does not deserve loyalty or respect. I've left my former life in my hometown. It is best that you go on and reflect on yourself. You are simply a highly insecure man who is getting older and believes that having a young woman at your side would be beneficial. Goodbye. Updates 2 and 3 for March. A number of you have asked me what he said. He responded within an hour of my emailing him. He stated he was naive enough to think I'd still wait for him. And he promised to always wait for me because, no matter what, I'll always be his baby doll. I really cringed. He used to call me that, but it now makes me feel repulsed. I also received an email from my mother and sister. My mother congratulated me and expressed her excitement about being a grandmother. My sister followed suit, declaring herself to be the cool aunt. I can't believe these people. They forgot how they treated me when I needed them, and then deceived me. I cried for a long time while reading your comments, and it appears that man groomed both me and my sister. I feel so dumb. I know I shouldn't be furious at my sister, but she was old enough to understand that having an affair with a married man is wrong. That includes someone who is your sister's husband. I blocked them all. I'm 5 months pregnant already. I don't need any more stress. God bless my hubby. He calmed me when I was crying. Later took me out for ice cream. I hope I can get past this. I have calmed down now. I believe I can provide a more thorough update. Thank you to everyone who has showed their support. I needed it. The email from him, my ex, hit me like a train. I got flashbacks of all he'd done to me. I believe you deserve a full update. After I sent him the return email, he emailed me within an hour with what I mentioned in part 2 of my update. Several hours later, I received 2 additional emails from my mother and sister. They sent me my old email account, which I hardly use anymore. I'm not sure how they knew about my pregnancy. I attempt to maintain a modest profile. I still haven't shared any baby bump photos on social media or made any announcements. I simply had Instagram to follow my pals, but it worried me. Right there, I burst into tears. Luckily, my husband, Tony, was present. He grabbed me and sat me down on the couch. He knows everything about me. I never hid anything from him. I was a little worried that my mother and sister would find me. He told me that I was hundreds of kilometers away from them. I mean, we are in the opposite part of the country. He brought me out for ice cream to console me. It took 2 ice cream cones to settle me down, Lowell. I told him about my anxieties and that my mother and sister might want to visit my kid, a girl. He stated that he would notify his uncle, a police officer, to be on the lookout for them. Even if they come and force themselves on you, he will fight for it. He intends to visit his lawyer acquaintance regarding this subject, and assured me not to worry about my ex. He can't damage me anymore. My husband even joked that he would shift nations if necessary. Finally, someone in my post suggested that I notify the nursery about my mother and sister in case they attempted to abduct my baby. We are not going to enroll her in nursery. Despite the fact that I am now employed, I opted to leave my job to care for my kid and focus on my postpartum recovery. I do have a significant amount of savings in my own bank, and this is entirely my decision. I will return to work once our little princess is a little older. My in-laws are great. My MIL and Phil live nearby. They are both nice ladies who offered to help with my child. Also, don't worry, aside from my in-laws, I have a strong support system. Tina and her wife Jenny basically adopted me, LOL. They are incredibly nice people who have always assisted me. I'm not sure what will happen in the future, but at least I'm surrounded by wonderful people, which I didn't have growing up. I shall now take your leave, and appreciate being pampered by my spouse. If something important happens, I'll keep you posted, and my ex, sister, and mother are all blocked. There have been no updates since. Story 2: My husband's nephew placed his hand on me while I was sleeping. If I tell anyone, the entire family will be wrecked. My husband's nephew and God's son is 17. My husband received a month-long employment opportunity overseas. We live in a house, and because I was uneasy living alone, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, recommended I stay with them in their guest room. I adore my husband's family. A large loving family took me in and embraced me with open hearts and arms. Despite coming from a broken home with no family to adore me, particularly his oldest sister, who is around 47, my spouse and I are 41 and 32 years old, respectively. I enjoyed staying with my sister-in-law. Everything was going well except for missing my husband, whom I spoke to a few times a day. I am a night owl, and when everyone went to bed yesterday, I stayed up in the living room binge-watching House of the Dragon. I must have fallen asleep on the couch. I awoke later to find my nephew's hand under my shirt. I pushed him away, but he placed his palm on my mouth and shoved me back into the couch. He punched my heart several times and commanded me to stop moving. I grabbed a cola glass from the coffee table and whacked him with it. My sister-in-law must have heard him grunt in pain and come downstairs. She started beating and shoving him away. She asked him to go to the guest house and followed him, most likely to check on his bleeding head injuries. She later returned and took me to the toilet because I had peed myself and cut my hand on the glass. She later offered me sleeping drugs and stayed in my room. I awoke today at lunchtime. Everyone but my sister-in-law was away. All the warmth had vanished. She told me she was quite disappointed in me. She welcomed me into her home, but I took advantage of her son. I informed her that she knew the truth. She saw everything. She claimed she saw nothing, and that no one would believe someone like me, even if I wanted to break up this family on purpose. I wanted to go, but she stopped me because she was concerned about what her family would think. I started crying and asked her to let me go, and I'm not saying anything. Now that I'm home, I have no idea what to do. This will devastate my hubby. He adores his family. They are his pride and prize in life. What if he despised me for upsetting his family and destroying their reputation? Worse, what if he doesn't believe me? He will be home in 3 weeks. The black eye will most likely be gone by then. Edit. I apologize for getting his age wrong. He's 15 and will turn 16 in a few months. I did horrible maths. Edit 2. Thank you for your response. I apologize for not being able to answer all of your questions. I'd like to report that I've already spoken with my spouse, as is his customary routine before bedtime, but I broke down in tears and told him everything. He FaceTimed me and saw my face. He told me to pack a bag and wait for his friend to come pick me up since he never likes me to be alone at home. My husband and I have been married for just over a year, and we live in this city, which is my husband's hometown, for a few months. I do not know many people here. Anyway, he instructed me to remain with his friend and his friend's family. They are good folks. He's flying home tomorrow. Thank you again, and I apologize for not being able to respond to everyone. Hello everyone, here's an update. This is a disposable account. I've written here before and received a lot of encouragement. I owe it entirely to the online community that I took the appropriate action and informed my spouse. If it were up to me, my thoughts, and my SIL, I would have kept this private and tried to go on. I will not, however, respond to any DMs since I do not want to read all of the horrible and abusive DMs that I received from my original post. I would gladly respond to your comments here, but I will be removing this account as well following this update. I'd like to start by answering a few questions. I have one question concerning my recent update. Why did my husband believe me without question? Many thought that my husband knew something about his nephew, which is why he wasn't startled. No, I asked him, and he answered that, aside from the injuries on my face, he just believes me. I have never given him a cause not to trust or believe me. Why did my husband tell me to live with his friend's family? Many people wondered why I wasn't independent enough to live alone in my house. This is a new town for me. I am from a large city with people around. Moving to a smaller town and living alone in a large house was a huge transition for me. I didn't feel right, so my husband proposed that I live with his sister and bond with my new family. But after what happened, I returned home. My husband was taken aback by his nephew's antics, and he honestly didn't know what to expect from him or his parents anymore. He was afraid they would hurt me, so he did not want me to be alone. He insisted that I don't inform his family where I was either. He was simply afraid. Also, I apologize for mistaking his age. He was born Novio 6, which means he will be 16 shortly. I performed the maths incorrectly and made him 17. My husband arrived home late the next afternoon after my post. I've never been happier as I was when I saw him. He called his sister and informed her that he was going over. When he arrived home, it appeared that he had been crying. He asked whether I wanted to file charges and he said he wanted me to, but only if I wanted. When he was at his sister's, she tried to blame me, but he begged her to stop it if she truly cared about her son. He asked her why she wasn't more concerned about him. He went to such lengths to overpower them, including beating a sleeping family member. He also asked her why she had given me sleeping medications. I'm not sure why I took them. I just did. Unfortunately, I've always obeyed those who I thought had control over me since I was a child. She informed him that I was panicking and that she couldn't calm me down. Anyway, she denied that her son ever did anything like this, and she continued to believe that I had come on to him. My husband also spoke with his nephew, and he was disappointed to discover that he was unapologetic and unaffected. He did not even apologize. He explained that he was trying to wake me up since the couch was uncomfortable, and I hit him. We created a report. There's not much else I can do. I don't think it will lead anywhere, but I wanted it to be out there. My husband's brother called him to shout at him. They've already launched the smear campaign. My spouse explained my side. I'm not sure who they'll choose to trust. My spouse has 6 siblings. We'll have to see how this plays out. His nephew is still a child, and my husband does not want to damage him. He believes he requires assistance, but not the kind his parents are providing, enabling him. He also expressed the sentiment that many of you have. This boy will probably do it again, and I'm not the first. It hurts him since he cares about him deeply. But he needs to inform folks what he can do to protect their families. My hubby has been quiet and distant the past few days. I wasn't sure what to do about it. I just felt incredibly guilty. I wasn't sure if I could apologize to him, and ask for forgiveness for damaging his relationship with his favorite sister and her family. When I finally got the nerve to do it, he seemed startled at me. He cried, and informed me that he was the one who was apologetic. He thought he was finally giving me the large family I had hoped for. I didn't know anything about my family, and he held me. I cried in his arms. We don't know what will happen next. We intend to move back to the major city. I'm not sure what to do with my new job. I need to quit after a few months. I work as a preschool teacher, so finding a new job or returning to my old one should be easy. Thank you again. I doubt I will be making any more posts. I simply want to recover and go on.